At the Easter dinner, my daughter-in-law went on and on about her tax refund and a lavish vacation, while also complaining about the burden of supporting her elderly father in the basement. Out of nowhere, Sarah, her lawyer friend, asked me, "Mr. Morrison, has the $2.5 million royalty check for your patent been paid?" Yet the fork slipped from my daughter-in-law's hand and clattered onto her plate. She gasped. "What, Dad has $2.5 million?" I replied calmly. "That was just the advance from 3 years ago. There's also about $800,000 a year in royalties." The Benefactor Act collapsed and naked greed took its place. Thank you for spending your time here with me. Before we move on, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I always read them. Also, this story includes fictionalized details added to deepen the impact. Any similarities to real names or settings are unintentional, but the takeaway is something worth reflecting on. I wake to the cold bite of metal pressing into my spine. The cot frame, more suggestion than support, has been my bed for 2 years now. Easter Sunday morning, and the basement is still dark at 6 a.m. 5 years since I lost Margaret. 2 years since I moved into my son and daughter-in-law's basement. What was supposed to be temporary has become permanent in that slow, unacknowledged way that difficult things do. This isn't a bedroom. It's a storage area that happens to have a cot in it. Their Christmas decorations are stacked against the far wall. My clothes hang on a tension rod wedged between 2 exposed pipes. The concrete floor is always damp, always cold. The small window near the ceiling lets in a rectangle of gray light. My morning routine has become an exercise in invisibility. I wash my face in the utility sink using the bar soap they keep for cleaning paintbrushes. The water runs rust orange for the first few seconds. I dress quietly, carefully folding my sleeping clothes and tucking them under the pillow. An engineer's habits die hard, everything in its place. I remember the day I moved in. Margaret's funeral had been 3 days earlier. My son had put his arm around my shoulders. "Dad, you shouldn't be alone right now. Come stay with us, as long as you need." I'd thought it would be a few weeks, maybe a month. That was 2 years ago. Upstairs, I hear the house waking. Footsteps above my head. The groan of pipes as someone turns on a shower. I wait another 10 minutes before heading up the basement stairs. The kitchen is pristine, every surface clear, except for a vase of fresh tulips on the island. Easter flowers. Margaret loved tulips. I push that thought away and open the refrigerator. My breakfast comes from the back corners, the almost expired yogurt, the bread that's starting to go stale. I'm making toast when she appears in the doorway. My daughter-in-law moves through the house like she's always on camera, always performing. "You're using my coffee." Her voice isn't quite accusatory, but it's not friendly either. The good coffee. The expensive kind. I look at the bag on the counter. The one I bought 3 days ago, but it's become hers in the claiming. "I'll pick up more today," I say quietly. "It's Easter, stores are closed." She sighs. "It's fine, just try to remember that some things are for special occasions." She pulls the bag toward her side of the counter. Then she's gone, leaving me with my toast and the familiar weight in my chest. I retreat to the basement. From down here, I can hear everything. The shower running, their voices muffled but occasionally clear. My daughter Emma is coming today for Easter brunch. That's what's keeping me upright. Emma, who still looks at me like I'm her father instead of an obligation. I sit on the cot and open the drawer of the plastic dresser. Beneath my socks, there's an envelope from my bank. The quarterly statement. The numbers printed there would change everything if anyone up there knew about them. But they don't. And every day that passes, I wonder if I was right to keep it quiet, or if I've just been conducting an experiment in human nature. What I've learned so far isn't comforting. 2 hours later, I'm upstairs again. The dining room table is set with the Easter china pastel plates with gold trim that only come out once a year. Fresh lilies in crystal vases, deviled eggs arranged in perfect rows. Everything looks like a magazine spread. Can you arrange the chairs? My daughter-in-law calls from the kitchen. And make sure the patio furniture is clean. I'm not family in moments like these. I'm staff. My son appears at the top of the stairs, freshly showered. He walks straight to his wife, kisses her cheek, and they share some private joke I'm not part of. He glances at me briefly, nothing more, before turning back to her. I arrange the chairs. 6 around the main table, 4 more at the smaller one. 10 people coming. Emma and her family. Some friends. I'm finishing the living room when I hear them in the kitchen. Their voices are low, but the house has good acoustics. After everyone leaves, my son is saying, "Not today. We can't wait much longer." That's her voice, urgent and tight. I found the statement the one from his patent attorney. Do you have any idea? I know, I've known. A pause. The sound of my own heartbeat fills my ears. How you've known? Her voice rises slightly. How long? A while? I didn't know how to bring it up. Shaiwamtiu, we need to talk about your father's situation. She's close to the doorway now. I found something that changes everything. My hands are shaking as I place the last chair. They found it. Somehow they found out about the money, about the patent, about everything I've been keeping quiet for 3 years now. The question isn't what they found anymore. The question is, what happens next? The doorbell cuts through my anxiety like a knife. I watch from the kitchen doorway as my daughter-in-law's face transforms. The irritation that's been there all morning vanishes, replaced by a smile so bright it could light up a stage. She smooths her dress, touches her hair, and glides toward the front door with the practiced grace of someone who's always performing. The door swings open and there's Emma, my daughter, 40 years old now. But I still see the little girl who used to help me fix things in the garage, handing me wrenches and asking endless questions about how things worked. She's holding a casserole dish, her husband Tom, right behind her, with their 2 kids bouncing around his legs. Happy Easter. Emma's voice is warm, genuine, everything this house isn't. She sets down the dish and pulls me into a hug before anyone else can claim her attention. She holds on longer than usual, and when she pulls back, her eyes are searching my face. Dad. She whispers quiet enough that only I can hear. You look thin. Are they feeding you? I force a smile. I'm fine, sweetheart. You know me. I forget to eat sometimes. Her eyes say she doesn't believe me, but she doesn't push. Not here. Not now. Everyone you remember, Tom. Emma gestures to her husband, who's corralling their 7-year-old daughter and 5-year-old son. And this is my friend, Sarah Williams. She's a patent attorney we met at a networking thing last year. I thought she might enjoy meeting some new people. Sarah steps forward, extending her hand. She's in her mid-40s, sharp-eyed, dressed in what my daughter-in-law would call effortlessly elegant. There's an intelligence in her gaze that misses nothing. Pleasure to meet you all, Sarah says. Emma's told me so much about her family. My daughter-in-law sweeps in, all gracious hostess now. Sarah. How wonderful Emma mentioned you work in intellectual property law. How fascinating. You must tell us all about it. Come in, come in. We're so glad you could join us. She's commandeered the conversation before Sarah can even respond, leading everyone toward the living room while pointing out various features of the house. We just had the kitchen redone. Quartz countertops. And these floors, original hardwood, we had them refinished. The contractor said they're over 70 years old. I catch Emma's eye. She makes a face, the same one she used to make as a teenager when her mother would go on too long about something. It's such a familiar expression that for a moment I feel Margaret's absence like a physical ache. She would have loved seeing Emma today, seeing how she's grown into this confident, kind woman. Emma tries to pull my son aside as we move through the house. Hey, can we talk for a second? I haven't really gotten to catch up with you in... But later, he cuts her off, not unkindly, but firmly. We've got guests arriving. You know how it is. He's already turning away following his wife's voice. Emma's face falls for just a second before she recovers. She finds me again in the hallway. Dad. Her voice is low, urgent. Are you okay here? Really okay, because you know you can come stay with us. We have that guest room, and the kids would love having you around more. Emma, sweetheart, you have enough on your plate. 2 kids, your job, Tom's travel schedule. I'm fine. You're not fine. I can see it. She squeezes my hand. Promise me you'll think about it. I nod, though we both know I won't take her up on it. I won't be a burden to my daughter the way I am to my son. We move into the dining room. The table I set this morning now looks even more impressive with all the food arranged. My daughter-in-law has outdone herself with the presentation, even if I did most of the actual work. Everyone finds their seats. Emma makes sure to sit next to me, her kids at the smaller table nearby. My daughter-in-law stands at the head of the table, raising her mimosa glass. Before we eat, I just want to say how grateful we are to have family here today. Easter is about renewal, about coming together, about sharing our blessings with the people we love. She looks around the table, her gaze landing on me for just a moment. It's not always easy maintaining a home, building a life, supporting family members who need us. But that's what family does. We shoulder the burdens together. Burdens. The word hangs in the air like smoke. Emma's hand finds mine under the table, squeezes it. The meal begins. Dishes are passed. Conversations overlap. My daughter-in-law holds court, talking about my son's latest real estate deals, their plans for a kitchen expansion, the wine tasting trip they're planning to Napa. She's good at this, making their life sound enviable, successful, generous. Especially that last part. And of course, we're so fortunate to be able to help family. It's important to us, giving back, taking care of the older generation. Not everyone can do it, but we feel it's our responsibility. She glances at me again, that same performance smile. Several people around the table nod approvingly. Look at what good children they are taking in an elderly parent. How noble, how self-sacrificing. Emma's jaw is tight. I can feel the tension radiating off her. Tom puts a hand on her arm, a gentle warning not to make a scene. Not here, Sarah. I notice isn't nodding along with everyone else. She's watching. Those lawyers' eyes are taking in the dynamics, the undercurrents. She's seeing something that makes her pause her fork halfway to her mouth. The conversation shifts. People discuss their kids' schools, vacation plans, the neighborhood gossip. I'm content to stay quiet to let the noise wash over me. But then Sarah turns to me, genuine interest on her face. Emma mentioned you're an engineer, she asks. What field, hubba? All eyes turn to me. My daughter-in-law looks surprised, as if she'd forgotten I could speak. I say carefully. Water treatment systems mostly. Retired now. Water treatment. Sarah leans forward slightly. That's a fascinating field. Especially now with all the infrastructure concerns and environmental regulations. The technology must have evolved quite a bit over your career. And just like that, I can see her lawyer's mind working, making connections, filing away information. I don't know it yet. But this moment, this simple question, is about to change everything. Sarah doesn't wait for me to elaborate. She's already moving forward the way lawyers do when they sense a thread worth pulling. The industry really has evolved dramatically. She continues, setting down her fork. Just last month, I was consulting on a case, a client trying to license some advanced filtration technology. The patent landscape in that space is incredibly competitive now. I nod carefully, keeping my expression neutral. Years of engineering presentations taught me how to maintain a poker face. The technology in question was remarkable. Sarah goes on, and something in her tone makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Revolutionary design, actually. Multi-stage filtration with a proprietary membrane system. The company that owned it had just signed a major licensing deal. Very lucrative. Around the table, people are half listening, still eating, making polite, interested noises. But I'm watching Sarah's face, and I know somehow I know where this is going. During our research, we came across the original patent filing. She pauses, takes a sip of water. The inventor's name came up. Same surname as yours, actually. The fork in my daughter-in-law's hand stops mid-air. Just freezes there, a piece of ham speared on the tines. The conversation around us doesn't stop immediately. Tom is still talking to someone about baseball, but I see the shift in her face. The wheels turning. She sets down her fork with deliberate care. That patent, is that yours? Every voice at the table dies. Even the kids at the smaller table seem to sense something and go quiet. I choose my words carefully. I worked on water treatment systems for most of my career, yes. But did you patent something? Her voice has changed. Sharper now. The performance is cracking. Did you license it? Emma's looking between us, confused. Dad, what's going on? Sarah's face has gone pale. She's realized what she's done, stumbled into some family landmine. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, but my daughter-in-law talks right over her, laser-focused on me now. For money? Did you license it for money? The room is holding its breath. I can hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Someone's ice cube shifts in their glass with a small clink. I look at my son. Our eyes should meet, father and son. This should be a moment where we acknowledge each other. But he won't look at me. He's staring at his plate like it holds the secrets of the universe. His jaw is tight. His shoulders are rigid. And in that moment, that split second of his avoidance, I know everything I've suspected for 3 years. Everything I've been testing for. He already knows. He's known. The silence stretches. Everyone's waiting. My daughter-in-law's face is flushed now. Her eyes bright with something I can't quite name. Anger. Excitement, both. Well, how much? Her voice cuts through the quiet like a blade. How much was the licensing deal worth? I could lie. I could downplay it. I could say it was modest, nothing special, just enough for a comfortable retirement. I've spent 3 years being small, being invisible, being less than I am. But I'm tired of being invisible. I meet her eyes. My voice is steady, calm. Engineer's precision. $2.5 million. Upfront payment. 3 years ago. For a moment, nothing happens. The words just hang there in the air, too big for the room to contain. 2.5 million. The number echoes in the silence. Then everything happens at once, but somehow in slow motion. My daughter-in-law's mouth opens. Actually drops open like something from a cartoon. Somewhere to my left, Emma makes a sound, half gasp, half choke. Tom's water glass tilts in his hand, forgotten. Sarah has gone very still. Her lawyer's face carefully blank now. Other voices start questions, exclamations, but they're just noise. White noise. Because I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at my son. And here's what I see. His face has gone white. His hands are gripping the edge of the table. But his eyes, when they finally meet mine, they're not wide with shock. They're not surprised. They're guilty. That look. That's the look of someone who's been caught. Not someone who's just learned something new. That's the face of a person who's been keeping a secret and just watched it explode in the middle of Easter brunch. You knew, I hear myself say, though I hadn't planned to speak. The words just come. You already knew. He opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. But he doesn't deny it. Around us, the chaos is building. My daughter-in-law has found her voice, and it's rising, getting louder. Emma is reaching for my hand. Other people are asking questions, talking over each other. The kids are asking what's wrong. Someone knocks over a water glass. But in this moment, in this bubble of understanding between father and son, there's perfect clarity. He knew. How long has he known? And if he knew I had money, if he's known for months, maybe longer, then every moment of the past 2 years shifts into a different light. Every rent payment, every time I ate expired yogurt while watching them waste good food, Every time he let his wife treat me like hired help. He knew I wasn't poor. He knew I didn't need their charity. He knew, and he let it happen anyway. The noise around us rises to a crescendo. My daughter-in-law is standing now, her voice shrill. 2.5 million, you've had $2.5 million, but I barely hear her. I'm still looking at my son, at the guilt written across his face like a confession. And I'm realizing that the experiment I've been running, this test of whether my family loved me or my money, has just given me an answer I wasn't ready to hear. My daughter-in-law's voice shatters the frozen moment like a hammer through glass. I do 2.5 million. She's on her feet now, both hands pressed flat on the table. You've had $2.5 million this whole time. The questions come fast, overlapping from multiple directions. When did this happen? Why didn't you tell us? Where is the money now? Are you serious? This whole time? Emma's voice cuts through the chaos, sharp and clear. Why should he tell you? It's his money. My daughter-in-law whips around to face her. We've been supporting him for 2 years, housing him, feeding him, taking care of him. You've been charging him rent. Emma's face is flushed now, her voice rising to match. Don't make it sound like charity. What? My daughter-in-law's eyes dart to me, then back to Emma. What are you talking about? I set down my water glass with careful precision. The engineer in me appreciates clean data, clear facts. You've been charging me $800 a month for the basement. I've paid it. Every month. On time. Direct deposit to your account on the 1st. The silence that follows is different from before. This one is sharp-edged, dangerous. Emma's chair scrapes back as she stands. You've been charging Dad rent. Her voice could cut steel. To live in your basement, that barely covers utilities. My daughter-in-law stammers, but the performance is gone now. The gracious hostess has left the building. It's not like we're making money off him. She was $800 a month for a storage room with a cot. Emma's laugh is bitter. In what world is that barely covering utilities? My son is still sitting silent, his face the color of old paper. Around the table, people are uncomfortable now. Sarah is staring at her plate. Tom has his hand on Emma's arm, but she shakes him off. The other guests are exchanging glances, wondering if they should leave, if they should stay, if they should pretend this isn't happening. How? My daughter-in-law's voice pulls focus back. She's looking at me now, and I can see her mind working, recalculating. How did a retired engineer end up with that kind of money? So I tell them. Not because I owe them an explanation, but because I owe it to Margaret's memory. I worked on it for years, I say. Water filtration systems, specifically a multi-stage purification process with a proprietary membrane design. Margaret, my voice catches on her name. It was partly her idea. She was the one who suggested looking at the problem from a different angle. We developed it together, really. She'd sit with me in the garage while I worked, asking questions, making suggestions. I can see it so clearly. Margaret in her reading chair, the one I dragged out to the garage, so she could keep me company during those long nights of tinkering and testing. The way her eyes would light up when something worked. The way she'd celebrate each small breakthrough like it was the moon landing. So when she got sick, I continue. When we knew she wasn't going to, I stop, swallow hard. She made me promise I'd finish it, that I'd see it through. So after she passed, I did. I finalized the design, filed the patent. It took 2 years. No one speaks. Even my daughter-in-law has gone quiet. A company approached me 3 years ago. They wanted exclusive licensing rights for North America. The upfront payment was $2.5 million, plus royalties. Royalties. My daughter-in-law's voice is barely a whisper. I nod. $800,000 a year, give or take depending on usage rates. The contract runs for 10 years. The number lands like a physical blow. I watch my daughter-in-law's hand grip the table edge, her knuckles going white. 800,000 a year. That's what I'm bringing in while paying her 800 a month to sleep on a cot in her basement. The math is doing itself in her head. I can see it in her eyes. 10 years of royalties. $8 million. Plus the $2.5 million I already got. Plus whatever I've earned in interest. Plus my actual retirement savings from 40 years of work. Emma is looking at me with something like awe. "Dad," she says softly. "Why didn't you say anything? Would it have mattered?" I ask. "Before today, I mean. Would knowing I had money have changed how any of you treated me?" No one answers. The answer is sitting right here at this table in this moment, in the way everyone's face has changed since they heard that number. My son finally speaks. His voice is strained, stretched thin. "Dad, why didn't you say anything?" It's the same question Emma asked, but coming from him, it means something different. From Emma, it was confusion, maybe hurt. From him, it's defensive. It's accusatory, even. And that right there is what breaks something inside me. I look at my son. Really look at him. This man I raised, who I taught to ride a bike, who I helped with homework, who I walked through his first heartbreak. This man who let me sleep in his basement for $800 a month. This man who's known I wasn't poor and let it happen anyway. The whole table is watching us now. Emma, my daughter-in-law, Sarah, Tom, the other guests, they've all faded into the background. This moment is just between father and son. "When did you find out, son?" My voice is quiet, but it cuts through every other sound in the room. The question hangs there, precise and unavoidable. His face goes even paler. His mouth opens, closes, opens again, and in his silence I have my answer. My son's silence stretches. I watch the second hand on the wall clock behind his head. 10 seconds. 20. His mouth works like a fish pulled from water, opening and closing, but no sound comes out. He's calculating, weighing options, wondering if he can still salvage this. He can't. 8 months. He finally says. His voice is barely above a whisper. "I found out 8 months ago." The confession lands like a stone in still water. "I was going through some papers on your desk. There was a letter from your patent attorney. I opened it without thinking." "You opened my mail." My voice is flat. "The letterhead said it was from a law firm. I thought it might be something important." He's looking at his hands now. "It was a quarterly royalty statement with your bank account information. The numbers were," he stops, swallows, "to 8 months ago." I repeat, 8 months. That's 32 weeks of collecting rent from me. 32 weeks of letting his wife treat me like a burden. 32 weeks of knowing and saying nothing. My daughter-in-law has gone very still. "You've known for 8 months. Her voice rises with each word. "You kept this from me, from your wife. I didn't know how to bring it up." He turns to her defensive. "What was I supposed to say?" "Yes." She's shouting now. "That's exactly what you should have said." Emma's voice cuts through their argument. "You kept it from Dad that you knew. That's worse." My son turns to me. Dad, I wasn't trying to." "Trying to what?" I ask quietly. The room goes silent. "You knew I had money for 8 months, and you still charged me rent. Still made me feel like I was in your way. Still let me eat expired food from the back of the refrigerator. That's not... You let your wife call me a burden. To my face. Multiple times. Each word is precise, surgical. You knew I wasn't poor. You knew I didn't need your charity. And you let it all happen anyway. I thought if I brought it up, you'd think I was asking for money. I didn't want money to change things between us. The laugh that comes out of me is bitter. Money didn't change anything. It revealed everything." I lean forward. I've been living in your basement for 2 years. 2 years of watching how you treat people you think can't offer you anything. And now I know you spent 8 months knowing I could offer you plenty, and you still treated me the same way. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Make me understand how a son finds out his father has money and doesn't say, "Dad, you don't need to pay rent." Just keeps collecting $800 a month and pretends everything is normal. He has no answer. I sit back. The whole table is watching. Sarah looks stricken. Emma has tears in her eyes. I was testing you," I say quietly. "All of you, but especially you, son. I wanted to know if you cared about me or just my money." I pause. "You failed that test." My daughter-in-law's face shifts. The anger melts into something else. False concern. "We should help you manage your finances," she says, suddenly gentle. "Now at your age, making important decisions about that much money, you need proper planning. We can help with that. We're family." Emma stands up so fast, her chair scrapes across the hardwood. "Don't you dare. Dad, you're not staying here another night. Pack your things." "No." I hold up a hand. "Thank you, sweetheart, but no. I'm not running away. This conversation isn't finished." I turn to my son. "I moved here because I was lonely, because your mother died, and I didn't know how to be in that house without her. I thought you wanted me here. I thought you needed me as much as I needed you." "Dad, I did want you here." "No. She wanted rent money. And you wanted, I don't know what you wanted anymore. Maybe I was just taking up space in your storage room." He opens his mouth, closes it. No words come. "I'll move out," I say. "Give me 2 weeks to find a place." Dennis, Emma starts. It's decided. My daughter-in-law recovers quickly. Too quickly. "Let's not be hasty. Maybe we can talk about this. There might be opportunities here. Family investment opportunities. We could pool resources, make smart decisions together." I look at her. See the calculation in her eyes. She's already scheming. And my son is just sitting there, letting her. The meal is over. Slowly, people begin to leave. Tom herds the kids toward the door. The other guests make polite excuses, avoiding eye contact. Sarah is one of the last to go. As she passes, she slips something into my hand. Her business card. She leans down, speaks quietly. Call me if you need anything at all." I look up at her. Her lawyer's face is serious, concerned. "I will, thank you." After everyone leaves, after the house is quiet, except for my son and his wife, arguing in low voices in the kitchen, I sit alone at the dining room table. I look at Sarah's card, patent attorney, a phone number, and I realize this isn't over, not even close. They're going to try something. I can feel it. My daughter-in-law's eyes when she mentioned investment opportunities. My son's silence when she said it. They're going to try to get the money, and I need to be ready. 3 days since Easter. 3 days since the truth came out at that table. 3 days of polite distance, careful conversations, my son and his wife orbiting around me like I'm a bomb that might detonate again. I'm in the basement packing boxes. Not the boxes they stored down here, my boxes. The few possessions I've accumulated in 2 years of living in someone else's storage room. It doesn't take much space. A lifetime reduced to 3 cardboard boxes and a duffel bag. I hear footsteps on the stairs. Slow, deliberate. My son appears at the bottom, and for the first time since Sunday, he's sought me out. His face is arranged in an expression I recognize from his childhood. The look he'd wear after doing something wrong, hoping charm could smooth it over. "Hey, Dad." His voice is soft, tentative. "How's the packing going?" I fold a shirt, place it carefully in the box. "Fine. Should have most of it done by the weekend." He nods, shifts his weight from foot to foot. The silence stretches uncomfortably. He stops. Starts again. "I messed up. Sunday, everything before Sunday. I should have talked to you. About the money, about everything. I just didn't know how. I don't respond. Just keep folding, packing. Let him fill the silence. Are you really moving out? He asks. That's what we agreed on. 2 weeks. I'm ahead of schedule. You don't have to rush. Take your time finding the right place. He comes closer, leans against the concrete wall. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. About your plans. I pause, look up at him. My plans, yeah. He's trying for casual, but there's something rehearsed about it. You know, with the apartment hunting, getting your own place again, it's a big step. And at your age, he catches himself. I mean, it's a lot to manage. The finances, the logistics. Have you thought about getting some help, professional help? Help with what exactly? To financial planning. You know, with that much money, you need proper guidance. Investment strategies, tax implications, estate planning. He's speaking faster now, gaining confidence. I actually know someone, a friend of ours, financial advisor. Really good guy. He could help you set things up properly, make sure everything's protected. I set down the shirt I'm holding. Look at my son directly. I've been managing my finances for 40 years. I think I can handle it. Sure. Of course you can. He holds up his hands, placating. I just meant, you know, having someone to consult with. Make sure you're not making any mistakes. Big decisions like this, it helps to have a second opinion. Big decisions like what? Like where to live, how much to spend, what to do with all that money. He's watching me carefully now. We just worry about you, Dad. Making these decisions alone. You've seemed, I don't know, distracted lately, a little forgetful. The word hangs in the air between us. Forgetful. I'm not forgetful, I say. My voice is firm. The stove, Dad, last week. You left it on. She had to turn it off before something happened. I remember that afternoon clearly. I was making tea. The kettle was on. I walked into the living room to get my book, was gone maybe 2 minutes. When I came back, the stove was off, and my daughter-in-law was standing there, arms crossed, looking at me like I'd burned the house down. I was making tea, I say. I came right back. Still. He shrugs, trying for sympathetic. At 68, these things happen. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But maybe it's time to think about safeguards. For your own protection. My engineer's mind, trained to recognize patterns, catches the thread immediately. He's building something. A narrative. A case. Plant the seed of forgetfulness. Add an incident, real or exaggerated. Suggest I need protection. From what? From myself. Safeguard, I repeat slowly. Yeah, just precautions. You know, having someone who can help if things get overwhelming. He's choosing his words carefully now. Someone who could step in if you need assistance. Make sure you're okay. I understand now. This isn't about helping me. This is about control. About positioning themselves as necessary. About creating a paper trail that says I can't manage on my own. I appreciate your concern, I say carefully. But I'm managing just fine. Are you, though? He leans forward, and there's something in his eyes I don't like. Because from where we're sitting, it looks like you're isolating yourself. Keeping secrets. Making big financial decisions without talking to anyone. Those are warning signs, Dad. We're just trying to look out for you. Warning signs. The language is deliberate, clinical. Like he's been reading articles or talking to someone about how to establish, what's the word they use, incompetence. Before I can respond, my daughter-in-law's voice floats down the stairs. Sweet as honey, sharp as glass. Honey, is your father coming up for dinner? We have a guest, Dr. Patterson. He's very eager to meet him. My son's face brightens. Oh, right. I forgot to mention we have someone coming over. A friend. He's a doctor, specializes in geriatric health. I thought it might be good for you two to talk, just informally, get his perspective on things. My heart sinks. The pattern becomes clear. The forgetful accusations, the stove incident, the financial advisor friend, and now a doctor, a geriatric specialist, coming to dinner, eager to meet me. This isn't dinner. This is an evaluation. I look at my son standing there, his face carefully arranged in concern, and I realize what this is. What they're doing. They're not going to ask for my money. They're going to try to prove I can't handle it myself. A doctor, I say quietly. How thoughtful. He's really great. Very knowledgeable. My son is already heading back upstairs. Come up whenever you're ready, no rush. But there is a rush. I can feel it. The walls closing in, the trap being set. I look around the basement. My boxes half-packed. My temporary home that was never really home. And I understand that moving out in 2 weeks might not be soon enough. They're not going to wait for me to leave. They're going to try to make sure I can't. Dr. Patterson smiles at me across the dinner table. He's in his mid-50s, well-dressed in business casual, radiating the kind of professional concern that probably works on most people. Your son tells me you've had quite an impressive career in engineering. I nod slowly. Take a sip of water. Wait. Water treatment systems, he said. The doctor leans forward slightly, all friendly interest. That must have been fascinating work. Lot of complex problem-solving, I imagine. It was. Still keeping your mind sharp with puzzles, crosswords, maybe Sudoku. His smile is warm, but there's something calculated behind it. Something rehearsed. I say. Technical journals mostly. Wonderful, wonderful. He's nodding like I've said something profound. Then casually, as if it's just part of the conversation, can I ask, what year is it? The question lands in the middle of the table like a stone. My son shifts in his seat. My daughter-in-law's fork pauses halfway to her mouth. They're both watching me, waiting. 2024. I say calmly. And who's the president? I name him. The doctor nods, makes a note on the small pad he's pulled from his pocket. Like I'm a specimen being observed. Shakuin, current events. He continues, still smiling. Can you tell me something that's been in the news recently? I list 3 headlines from this morning's paper. He writes it all down. Every answer correct, but somehow in his hands my correctness becomes data. Evidence. Something to be recorded and analyzed. Now you're clearly very sharp, he says, but the compliment feels like a setup. Now these are just routine questions, you understand. Just getting a baseline. Nothing to worry about. But I wasn't worried, not until he said not to be. Tell me. He continues, his voice dropping into that carefully modulated therapy speak. Do you ever feel confused, overwhelmed by decisions? Find yourself forgetting things, conversations, appointments where you put things? No, never. He tilts his head. It's completely normal at your age to experience some memory changes. Nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, acknowledging it is the first step. I don't forget things. My daughter-in-law clears her throat. Well, actually, she looks at the doctor, then at me, her face arranged in concern. There was the stove incident last week. You left it on. I had to turn it off. And you've forgotten some of our conversations. I'll mention something we discussed, and you look at me like you've never heard it before. I look at her. Really look at her. She holds my gaze unwavering. If I didn't know better, I'd believe her. She's that good. Stikum. The stove was on for 2 minutes while I got my book, I say evenly. And I don't recall our conversations because they usually happen when I'm not in the room. The doctor makes another note. I watch his pen move across the paper, wonder what he's writing. Memory patient denies symptoms, probably. defensive when questioned. What about your living situation? He asks. Your son mentioned you're planning to move. That's a big decision. Have you thought through all the implications, financial planning, logistics, making sure you'll be safe on your own? I've lived on my own for most of my adult life. But that was before. He catches himself. Rephrases. Things change as we age. Tasks that used to be simple become more challenging. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Many people your age benefit from some support. Someone to help with daily decisions, financial matters, making sure bills get paid on time. I set down my water glass with careful precision. Dr. Patterson, where is your practice located? He blinks. I'm sorry, your medical practice. Where is it? What hospital are you affiliated with? I do more consulting work. I see patients in various settings. What medical school did you attend? His smile flickers. I trained at several institutions. Which ones? My background is more in wellness counseling, geriatric health assessment. I lean forward. Are you a licensed physician, Dr. Patterson? The silence that follows is thick enough to cut. My son won't look at me. My daughter-in-law's face has gone hard. What's your medical license number? I ask quietly. I'd like to verify it with the state medical board. Dr. Patterson's professional demeanor cracks. I'm more of a wellness consultant. I specialize in, so you're not an MD. The designation isn't as important as the expertise. The designation is everything. I stand up. My chair scrapes against the floor. This dinner is over. You can leave now. Ed, my son starts. No. I look at him. You brought a fake doctor into this house to evaluate me. To what get me declared incompetent? Is that the plan? We're worried about you. You're worried about my money. I turn to Dr. Patterson, who's already gathering his things, clearly eager to leave. I assume they're paying you well for this performance. He doesn't answer, just nods at my son and heads for the door. After he leaves, the house is silent. My son and daughter-in-law exchange glances, some wordless communication passing between them. Then my son speaks, his voice tight. We're just trying to help Dad. If you won't accept help, we have other options. Other options. The words settle over me like a threat. I go back downstairs without another word. I need to finish packing. Need to get out of here faster than 2 weeks. I'm moving boxes around looking for the tape when I see it. A folder tucked under the edge of my cot, partially hidden by the bed frame. I pull it out. Legal-sized papers, printouts from websites. The first page is titled, How to File for Conservatorship. I flip through them, my engineer's hands steady even as my heart races. Articles about establishing mental incapacity. Requirements for medical evaluation. Forms for the court. Sections highlighted in yellow marker. Notes in my daughter-in-law's precise handwriting in the margins. This wasn't a spontaneous idea. This wasn't them suddenly getting worried after Sunday's revelation. They've been researching this, planning it. The fake doctor wasn't an impulse decision, it was part of a strategy. I look at the documents in my hands, at the highlighted sections, about inability to make sound decisions and protection of assets for the individual's own good. And I realize they're not just trying to get my money. They're trying to take control of my entire life. Next morning, I call Emma first. My hands are steadier than I expected. Years of engineering emergencies taught me how to stay calm when systems fail. This is just another kind of failure. A human one. Adam. Emma's voice is cautious. Everything okay? No, I say. I need help. And I need it to stay confidential. There's a pause. Then I'm listening. Why not over the phone? Can you meet me somewhere not here? 20 minutes later, I make my second call. To the number on the business card that's been sitting on my dresser since Easter Sunday. Sarah Williams. Her voice is crisp, professional. Sarah, I'm Emma's father. From Easter brunch. You gave me your card. Of course. Her tone shifts immediately. What's wrong? Everything, I say. Can you meet us? I think I need a lawyer. The coffee shop is halfway between their houses and mine. Neutral ground. Emma gets there first, already on edge, her coffee untouched. Sarah arrives 5 minutes later, no longer dressed for Easter, but sharp in her work clothes, a leather portfolio under her arm. I show them the documents. Watch their faces change as they read. Emma's shock turns to fury. Sarah's expression goes cold, calculating. They're trying to have you declared incompetent. Emma's voice is too loud. Other patrons glance over. She lowers it to a harsh whisper. We have to sue them. We have to be smart. Sarah cuts in. She's already on her phone scrolling. This is serious. This is conservatorship is a legal proceeding. If they file, even if they lose it, creates a record, a paper trail that suggests there was concern about your capacity. So what do? I ask. You get ahead of it. She's typing now fast. You document everything. You get your own legal representation. You prove on the record that you're of sound mind. She looks up at me. I practice patent law. You need someone who specializes in elder law. But I know someone. If you're okay with it, I'd like to bring him in. Yes, whatever you think. She steps away, phone to her ear. Emma reaches across the table, grabs my hand. Your dad, come home with me, right now. Pack your things and leave. I can't. Why not? Because I need to see what they do next, what they're planning. I squeeze her hand. If I run, they'll just follow. They'll say I'm paranoid, unstable, making rash decisions. I need to stay calm. Stay put and document everything. Sarah returns, sets her phone on the table. Marcus Webb, he's on speaker. Marcus, this is the client I mentioned. A man's voice, gravelly but kind. Tell me everything. I do. The Easter revelation. The 8 months my son knew. The fake doctor. The conservatorship research. When I finish, there's a long pause. They're building a case, Marcus finally says. The forgetfulness accusations, the evaluation attempt, they're creating a narrative. If this goes to court, they'll say you're declining, you need protection. We need a counter-narrative. How when I ask? First, you get evaluated by a real doctor. Cognitive assessment, the works. We establish on the record that you're competent. Second, you document every interaction with them. Everything they say, everything they do. If possible, record it. Record it. I look at Sarah. She nods slowly. Your basement is your living space. You have a legal right to record what happens there. If they come down, if they say anything, it's evidence. Emma pulls out her laptop. Hidden cameras. I'm ordering one right now. Small enough to hide battery-powered. Make sure it's got good audio, Marcus says through the speaker. Georgia's a one-party consent state. As long as you're part of the conversation, recording is legal. We spend the next hour building a strategy. Sarah takes notes in her portfolio. Emma's fury has transformed into focus. Marcus, disembodied but present, guides us through the legal framework. Get the medical evaluation. Install the camera. Keep a log of every interaction. Alert my banks to potential fraud attempts. Forward my mail to Marcus's office so they can't intercept it. If they forge any documents, Marcus warns, that's a felony. If they try to access your accounts, that's fraud. Elder abuse is a serious charge in Georgia. We'll be ready. What if they try to file for conservatorship before we're ready? I ask. Then we fight it. You'll have medical records, documentation, legal representation. But I don't think they will. Not yet. They're testing the waters, seeing if they can manipulate you into signing things voluntarily first. Emma's still looking at her computer. Camera ships tomorrow, 1-day delivery. Dad, please, she says, looking up at me. Please just come stay with us. I can't, sweetheart. I wish I could make her understand. Not yet. I need to see this through. She doesn't like it. I can see it in her eyes. But she nods. Sarah walks me to my car. Call me if anything happens. Anything. Day or night. And Robert. She waits until I look at her. Don't sign anything. No matter what they say, no matter how reasonable it sounds. Don't sign a single piece of paper without running it by us first. I won't. I drive back to the house. My son's car is in the driveway. I brace myself as I open the door. My daughter-in-law is in the kitchen, and when she sees me, her face lights up with that practiced smile. Oh, good, you're back. We were wondering where you went. She wipes her hands on a towel, steps closer. We need to talk about your living arrangements. We've been thinking, and we have some ideas. Ideas that could really help everyone. Her voice is honey. Her eyes are calculating. And now I'm ready. Saturday afternoon. 2 days since I armed myself with knowledge and a camera the size of a pen cap, currently recording from my shirt pocket. 2 days of watching, waiting, documenting every sideways glance and whispered conversation between my son and his wife. The trap springs at 2 o'clock. Dad, my son calls down the basement stairs. Can you come up? We need to talk about something. His voice is casual. Too casual. The kind of tone you use when you're trying not to spook someone. I climb the stairs slowly, my engineer's mind already running calculations. It's Saturday, mid-afternoon. They asked me to come up, not demanded. This is the setup for something. When I walk into the living room, I understand immediately. 2 strangers sit on the sofa. A man and a woman, both in their 40s, both wearing business suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Their smiles are practiced, professional. Between them on the coffee table, a leather portfolio closed. Waiting. My son and daughter-in-law flank them like bookends. Everyone's smiling. Everyone looks concerned and caring and helpful. The camera in my pocket is recording every second. Dad, thanks for coming up. My daughter-in-law gestures to the strangers like she's revealing a prize. This is Jennifer and Mark. They're financial planning specialists. We thought it would be good for you to talk to them. Given everything that's happened, I remain standing. Financial planning specialists. Please sit down. The woman Jennifer pats the chair across from them. We're here to help. I sit. Not because I want to, but because I need to see where this goes. Need it on camera. Your family has shared some concerns. Mark begins opening the portfolio. Inside forms, documents, charts with numbers I can't see from here. About your current financial situation, the recent windfall. It's wonderful news, of course, but with that kind of money comes complexity. Risk. We specialize in helping families navigate these situations, Jennifer adds. Her voice is smooth, practiced. To estate planning, asset protection, making sure everything is structured properly for your security and your family's future. I haven't asked for financial advice, I say calmly. Of course not. Mark smiles. But at your age, having proper planning in place is critical. You've worked hard for this money. We want to make sure it's protected. At my age, there it is again. The subtle suggestion that I'm too old to handle this myself. What we're recommending, Jennifer continues, is something very standard, a power of attorney designation. It allows someone you trust, in this case, your son, to help manage your affairs. It's just for convenience. Makes things easier. Easier how? Well, if you need help with investments, paying bills, handling paperwork, it gives him the legal authority to step in and assist. She slides a document across the coffee table toward me. You trust your son, don't you? The question hangs there loaded like a weapon. What exactly would this power of attorney allow him to do? I ask. Mark leans forward. It would give him the authority to manage your investment accounts, handle your banking, make financial decisions on your behalf. All under your guidance, of course. Of course, I repeat. But legally, he could make those decisions without my input. It's really more of a partnership. Could he legally make financial decisions without consulting me first? Jennifer and Mark exchange a glance. Technically, yes, but then it's not a partnership. I sit back. It's control. My daughter-in-law's smile tightens. We're just trying to help Dad. Make things easier for you. I handle my finances quite well myself. But what if there's an emergency? My son says. It's the first time he's spoken. His voice is strained. What if something happens to you who handles everything then? Like I can designate Emma as my medical proxy, and my estate planning is already complete. Emma doesn't understand your financial situation. She doesn't need to. I have an attorney who does. Another glance between the advisors. This isn't going the way they rehearsed. Your son is just worried about you. Jennifer tries. Making big decisions alone. At your age, it's easy to become confused. I'm not confused. Of course not. Mark's smile doesn't reach his eyes. But having safeguards in place isn't about confusion. It's about protection. What if you can't make decisions for yourself? What if... Then I have legal documents in place for that scenario. Living Will Healthcare Proxy Financial Power of Attorney, all designating Emma. My son's face goes red. Why don't you trust me, Dad? The question is meant to sound hurt, but I hear the anger underneath. This isn't about trust, I say quietly. This is about control. Jennifer and Mark are packing up now, subtle movements that say this meeting is ending without the signature they came for. My daughter-in-law's eyes are bright with something dangerous. That who hired you? I ask them directly. They pause. I'm sorry. Who's paying your fee today? Who called you and arranged this meeting? Silence. Uncomfortable telling silence. We were contacted by your son and his wife. And your fee, is it hourly or contingent on me signing that document? Mark clears his throat. Our compensation structure includes a percentage of assets under management, so your fee depends on me signing. I look at them both. You're not independent advisors. You're salespeople working on commission. Jennifer starts to protest, but I've already stood up. They produce the documents anyway, push them across the table with a pen. Mr. Morrison, please. Just look at the paperwork. It's really for your own protection. Your own good. I'm not signing anything today. I say clearly, for the camera, for the record. If you'll excuse me, I walk toward the door. Need to get out of this room away from their manufactured concern and their commissioned smiles. My daughter-in-law steps into my path. She doesn't say anything. Just stands there, arms crossed, blocking the doorway with her body. Behind me, I hear my son shift in his seat. The advisors gathering their things, clearly uncomfortable now. But no one speaks. My daughter-in-law's eyes are locked on mine. And in them, I see the mask finally slip. This isn't a suggestion anymore. This is a threat. Her shoulder stayed square against the doorframe. The smile she'd worn for the financial advisors had evaporated. In its place was something colder, sharper, something I'd seen glimpses of over the past 2 years, but never head on. We're not finished, she said quietly. I kept my hand on the doorknob, the little camera still recording in my shirt pocket. I've said everything I'm going to say. She took a step closer. The basement stairs were behind me. Steep, uneven, no handrail. She didn't touch me, but the proximity was deliberate. You know, Dad. The word dripped with false sweetness. You're 68 years old. You're frail. Accidents happen all the time, especially to elderly people living in basements with bad knees and steep stairs. My pulse kicked, but 40 years of engineering presentations had taught me how to keep my voice level. Are you threatening me? I'm being realistic. She crossed her arms. You're alone. You're getting older. Your memory isn't what it used to be. Dr. Patterson's notes confirm that. What if something happened to you and no one knew? What if you signed something you didn't understand, or gave your bank information to a scammer, or forgot to turn off the stove again? Shh. I never forgot to turn off the stove. That's not what the doctor wrote down. She tilted her head, studying me the way you'd study a bug under glass. Look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You can sign the power of attorney, let us help you manage things before you make a mistake. Or we can go to court. I already have Dr. Patterson's evaluation. I have 2 years of documentation. I can prove you're living in unsafe conditions, that you're isolated, that you're not managing your finances appropriately. A judge will appoint a guardian, probably your son since he's next of kin. And then every single decision about your life, your money, your medical care will go through us anyway. You'll just have spent a lot of money on lawyers for nothing. I felt the weight of Margaret's wedding ring on my finger. The only thing I'd kept from the house we'd shared for 37 years. She would have known exactly what to say. I didn't, so I said the only thing I could. I'm leaving. No. She didn't move. Not until we settle this. Footsteps on the stairs behind her. My son appeared, his face tight. Mom's right, Dad. This isn't about the money. It's about keeping you safe. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. Then why are you being so stubborn? His voice rose, frustration bleeding through. We're trying to help you. We've been letting you live here, taking care of you. I pay $800 a month in rent. And you're throwing it back in our faces because of some paranoid idea that we're after your money. Do you know how that sounds? Do you hear yourself? I pulled my phone from my pocket, slowly, deliberately, so they could see it. I typed 4 words under the table where the camera couldn't catch the screen: send me Sarah's card again. It was the code Emma and I had agreed on that morning. Simple, innocuous. She'd know. I hit send. What are you doing? My daughter-in-law's voice went sharp. Texting my daughter. Give me that. No. I held the phone against my chest. I'm 68, not 6. I don't need your permission to contact my own daughter. Her jaw tightened. Fine. Text her. But you're not leaving this house until you sign that document. That, I said quietly, is called coercion. It's illegal, especially when you're trying to force someone to sign legal paperwork under threat of physical harm or false guardianship petitions. The air in the hallway went still. My son blinked. Dad, no one's threatening. Your wife just told me accidents happen to elderly people on steep stairs. She told me she has fabricated medical documentation and that she'll file for guardianship if I don't comply. Those are threats. And I patted my shirt pocket lightly where the little lens peeked through the gap between 2 buttons. I've recorded every word. Her face went white, then red. You're recording us in our own house. In Georgia, only one party needs to consent to record a conversation. I'm that party. Everything you've said in the last 5 minutes is documented. So is everything those 2 salespeople said upstairs. If you want to file for guardianship, go ahead. But a judge is going to hear exactly what tactics you used to try to steal my money. For 3 long seconds, no one moved. Then she stepped aside. Get out, she said flatly. But don't think this is over. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I walked past her, my legs shaking but my shoulders straight. My son didn't try to stop me. He just stood there staring at the floor, his hands in his pockets. I made it to my car, started the engine, pulled out of the driveway. I didn't let myself think. I just drove. 10 minutes across town to the neighborhood where Emma and Tom lived, the one with the good schools and the sidewalks and the flowering dogwoods in every yard. I parked crooked in their driveway and sat there for a full minute, gripping the steering wheel, trying to stop my hands from trembling. The front door opened. Emma came running out in bare feet, Tom right behind her. Dad, I got out of the car, handed her my house key. The one to my son's place, the one I wouldn't need anymore. I'm not going back. She took the key, looked at my face. Then she wrapped her arms around me and I realized I was shaking. "You're safe," she whispered. "You're safe now." I nodded against her shoulder. But even as Tom ushered me inside and Emma locked the door behind us, I knew it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Marcus Webb's face filled Emma's laptop screen. Sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, silver hair combed back, the kind of calm authority that comes from 30 years of courtroom work. Emma had called him the moment we'd walked through her front door. It had taken less than 5 minutes. "Tell me everything," he said. I pulled the little camera from my shirt pocket and connected it to the laptop. The footage was grainy, but clear, my daughter-in-law's voice describing how accidents happen to elderly people on steep stairs, my son standing silent in the hallway, the 2 salespeople pushing documents across the coffee table admitting they'd been paid on commission. Marcus watched without interrupting. When the clip ended, he leaned back in his chair. "This is textbook coercion, possibly elder abuse depending on how aggressive the DA wants to be. The guardianship threat is particularly serious. In Georgia, anyone can file a petition if they claim someone's incapacitated." She wasn't bluffing. They might actually try it. Emma's jaw tightened. "Can they win?" Not with this footage. But they can tie him up in court for months, drain his resources, make his life miserable." Marcus glanced at something off-screen. "Hold on. I'm bringing Sarah in." A moment later, Sarah Williams's face appeared in a second window. The patent attorney from Easter, the one who'd first mentioned my water filtration system. "I just heard," she said. "Robert, I'm so sorry. I never meant to." "You didn't cause this," I told her. "You just revealed it." Marcus cut in. "Sarah, what do you think they'll do next?" She frowned, thinking it through. "They've tried psychological manipulation, the fake doctor, the memory loss narrative. They've tried legal coercion, the power of attorney ambush. Both failed. If I were them..." She paused. "Direct fraud. They'll try to access his accounts or forge documents. It's desperate, but they're cornered." "Agreed." Marcus pulled up a notepad. "Robert, here's what we're doing tonight. First, you're moving out. Not tomorrow, tonight. You don't go back to that house, not even for your things." "I don't have things," I said quietly. "Just clothes." Emma's hand found mine under the table. Marcus continued. "Second, all your mail gets forwarded to my office as of Monday morning. I'll review everything before it reaches you. That prevents them from intercepting bank statements, legal notices, anything they could use. Third, I'm contacting every financial institution you have accounts with. We're adding security protocols. Any transaction over $5,000 requires written verification from me or Sarah. No exceptions. Will the banks do that? For elder abuse cases, absolutely. It's called a vulnerable adult alert. Most institutions have procedures in place." He made a note. "Fourth, we're filing a fraud alert with the credit bureaus. If anyone tries to open a credit card or loan in your name, you'll be notified immediately." Sarah spoke up. "What about a restraining order?" I hesitated. The weight of it settled in my chest. The finality. "He's still my son, Dad." Emma's voice was gentle but firm. "He stood there while she threatened you. He backed her up. He's been taking $800 a month in rent while you slept in a basement, and he knew, for 8 months he knew, you had $2.5 million. She threatened me," I said. "He just watched." That's complicity. Marcus's tone wasn't unkind, but it was clear. "Robert, your son is 35 years old. He's not a child. He's making choices. Right now, he's choosing to support someone who's attempting to steal your money and your autonomy. You can love him and still protect yourself from him." The words hung in the air. I thought about the man who used to build model rockets with me in the garage, who'd called me after Margaret's funeral and said, "Dad, you don't have to be alone. I thought about the man who'd stood in the hallway 2 hours ago and said, "You're not thinking clearly." "No restraining order yet," Marcus said, reading my face. "But if they contact you, calls, texts showing up at your door, you document everything and you call me immediately." "Understood," I nodded. "Good." He glanced at his watch. "It's 6:15. Emma, can you and Tom help him pack?" "Already on it," Tom said from the doorway. I hadn't realized he'd been listening. Within an hour, we were back at my son's house. Emma and Tom went in with me. Tom's hand stayed near his phone, ready to call the police if anyone tried to stop us. But the house was empty. My daughter-in-law's car was gone. I took one suitcase. Clothes, mostly. Margaret's wedding ring, which I'd kept in a sock drawer. The photo of the four of us from Emma's college graduation back when we'd still been a family. Tom carried the suitcase to the car. Emma locked the door behind us. I left my key on the kitchen counter. By 9 o'clock that night, I was standing in a furnished one-bedroom apartment 3 miles from Emma's house. Marcus had arranged it through a colleague who managed short-term rentals. The furniture was generic: beige sofa, laminate table, queen bed with a floral comforter. But it was clean, and it was mine. For the first time in 2 years, I slept in a real bed. In a room with a door that locked from the inside. In a space where no one could walk in at 6 in the morning and tell me I'd used their coffee. I slept 10 hours straight. 2 days later, Monday morning, my phone rang while I was making breakfast. The area code was local. I answered. "Mr. Morrison." The voice was brisk, professional female. "This is the manager at Peachtree Regional Bank. You need to come in immediately. There's been a serious attempt to access your account." My coffee went cold in my hand. "What kind of attempt?" "I can't discuss it over the phone." "But sir, it's urgent." "How soon can you get here?" I looked at the clock. 8:45. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. If you're still here, comment. I'm still here, so I know you're standing with me. And tell me, if it were your own child, would you protect them? Or protect yourself?" Because what happened next wasn't suspicion anymore. It was proof. And just a gentle note, the next part includes dramatized elements for storytelling and reflection. Some details may not reflect real-life events exactly, so if this isn't for you, this is a good place to step away. Susan Mitchell's office was smaller than I'd expected. Beige walls, a single window overlooking the parking lot diplomas from Georgia State, and some banking certification program I'd never heard of. She was maybe mid-40s, dark hair pulled into a tight bun, the kind of efficiency that comes from 20 years of handling other people's money. A man in a navy suit stood beside her desk, arms crossed. No introduction, just a silent, watchful presence. "Mr. Morrison." Susan gestured to the chair across from her. "Thank you for coming so quickly." I sat. My hands were still shaking from the drive over. "You said there was an attempt to access my account." "Yes." She opened a manila folder and slid a single piece of paper across the desk. It was a check. A standard personal check, the kind with the little watermark in the corner and the bank's routing number along the bottom. My name was printed at the top. My account number. My address. The old one, the house I'd shared with Margaret. The one I'd sold 5 years ago, but apparently never updated with the bank. The amount written in careful blue ink, $500,000. Pay to the order of Michael Morrison. My son. I stared at the signature line. It looked like mine. The cramped R, the looping M, the way the final N trailed off into a flat line because I'd been signing documents for 40 years and my hand had learned to save energy. It looked exactly like mine, except I'd never written it. This check was presented at a check-cashing business in Decatur on Saturday afternoon, Susan said quietly. The business flagged it because of the amount and contacted us for verification. "We have security camera footage." The man in the navy suit, the investigator, I realized, pulled a laptop from his briefcase and set it on the desk. He tapped a few keys, then turned the screen toward me. The footage was black and white, grainy shot from a ceiling-mounted camera. A man stood at the counter mid-30s wearing a jacket I recognized because I'd bought it for him 2 Christmases ago. He was handing the check to the clerk. His face angled slightly toward the camera. My son, clear as day, trying to cash a $500,000 check he'd forged in my name. Something inside my chest cracked. Not my heart. I'd thought that metaphor was just a saying until that moment. It actually hurt, a physical ache beneath my ribs, like something vital had come loose. My son, I whispered. My son tried to steal from me. The investigator leaned forward. Mr. Morrison, I need to ask, has your son ever forged your signature before? I opened my mouth to say no, to defend him, to explain that this had to be a mistake. And then I remembered. Last year, a package delivery. I'd been in the basement, their basement, the one I'd been living in for 2 years, and I'd heard the doorbell. By the time I came upstairs, my son was closing the door, a box under his arm. "And that was for you, Dad," he'd said. "I signed for it. Saved you the trip." I'd thanked him. He'd smiled, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I'd registered that the delivery driver hadn't asked for, ID hadn't checked, the signature had just accepted whatever scrawl my son had put on the electronic pad. "Yes," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "Once. Maybe more. I don't know. The signature on this check is very close," the investigator said. "Almost perfect. If he's been practicing, he has." I looked at Susan. "He's had access to my financial documents, bank statements, tax returns, 2 years' worth. He could have studied my signature every day if he wanted to." She nodded slowly. "Mr. Morrison, there's something else you need to know. This check, it was ordered online. Someone used your account information to request a new checkbook from our website, had it shipped to a P.O. box we're still tracing. Your actual checkbook is in my apartment," I finished. "I have it. I checked this morning." "Exactly. Which means this was premeditated, planned, not a crime of opportunity." The door opened. Marcus Webb stepped in slightly out of breath, his tie loosened. I'd called him from the bank lobby 20 minutes ago. "Sorry. Traffic on Peachtree was a nightmare. What have we got?" Susan handed him the check. He read it once, then again, his expression darkening. He looked at the laptop screen, watched the 10-second clip of my son at the check-cashing counter. "Jesus," Marcus muttered. He set the check down carefully, like it might explode. "Robert, I need you to listen to me very clearly. This is forgery, a felony in Georgia. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, another felony. And because you're over 65 and he's your son, this is financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, which carries enhanced penalties. We're talking serious prison time if the DA prosecutes. I can't send my son to prison." The words came out automatically, a reflex. Marcus pulled a chair over and sat directly in front of me, elbows on his knees. "He's counting on you feeling that way. That's the whole plan, Robert. He knows you love him. He knows you'll protect him. And if you don't stop this right now, if you let him get away with this, he will try again. And next time he'll be smarter. He'll learn from this mistake. He'll wait until you're vulnerable or sick or—" He stopped himself. "This won't be the last time. Not unless you make it the last time." I looked at Susan, at the investigator, at Marcus, at the check with my son's name on it and my forged signature beneath it. "Mr. Morrison," Susan said gently, "there's something else. This isn't the first attempt." My head snapped up. "What?" 3 days ago, Friday morning, someone tried to initiate a wire transfer from your account. $100,000 routed to an account at a different bank. We flagged it immediately because of the vulnerable adult alert Attorney Webb had us place on your account Thursday evening. We blocked the transfer and froze the request. We were planning to call you this week to discuss it. Mbarice, I repeated. That was 2 days after Easter, 1 day after I moved out. Yes. I stared at the evidence spread across Susan Mitchell's desk. The forged check, the security footage, the blocked wire transfer, multiple attempts, multiple crimes. How long had this been planned? Since Easter Sunday, when Sarah Williams had asked about my water filtration patent, and my daughter-in-law's face had gone pale. Or since 8 months ago, when my son had found the licensing agreement letter and the royalty deposit statements, and decided not to tell me. Decided instead to take $800 a month in rent and wait. Had he been practicing my signature for 8 months? Had he been ordering checkbooks and researching wire transfer protocols and mapping out which accounts held how much money? Had he looked at me every morning across the breakfast table, the mornings when I made coffee from beans I'd bought and ate leftovers I'd paid for, and thought just a little longer, just wait until the moment's right? Mr. Morrison. Susan's voice was soft. What would you like us to do? I looked at Marcus. He looked back steady and calm. Waiting. What happens next? I asked. We file a police report, Marcus said. The bank provides evidence. The DA decides whether to prosecute. Given the amount, the premeditation, and your age, they almost certainly will. And my son will be arrested, probably within 48 hours. I closed my eyes. Saw him at 7 years old building a model rocket in the garage. At 16, crying in my arms after a girl broke his heart. At 25, standing beside me at Margaret's grave. At 35, standing in a hallway, while his wife threatened me, silent complicit, choosing her over the man who'd raised him. I opened my eyes. File the report, I said. The police report sat on my kitchen table like a verdict already written. Marcus had prepared it himself. 3 pages, single-spaced, every detail documented. The forged check, the blocked wire transfer, the security footage, the practiced signature, the timeline stretching back 8 months, maybe longer. All it needed was my signature at the bottom of page 3. One name written in my own hand, and my son would face criminal charges. I'd been staring at it for 2 hours. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. In my son's basement, there'd always been noise. Footsteps overhead, muffled conversations, the hum of the washing machine through the wall. Here in this temporary furnished place with its beige sofa and generic landscape prints, there was nothing but the sound of my own breathing and the slow tick of the wall clock Emma had brought over yesterday. 3:00 p.m. I picked up my pen, set it down, picked it up again. My phone rang. Emma's name on the screen. Hi, sweetheart. Dad. Her voice was gentle, careful. How are you doing? I'm sitting here, looking at the paperwork. A pause. Have you signed it? Not yet. So, Dad, whatever you decide, I support you. I do, but... She took a breath. He needs to face consequences. You know that, right? I closed my eyes. When did I become someone my own son could steal from? When he decided money mattered more than you. Her voice cracked slightly. I'm sorry, Dad. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. I keep thinking, what if I'd done something differently? What if I'd been a better father, or stop? She was firm now. You were a great father. You are a great father. You taught us right from wrong. You taught us to work hard, to be honest, to take care of people. Michael learned all of that too. He just chose to forget it. I looked at the report again. $500,000. $500,000. Your brother broke Mrs. Patterson's window once, I said. Do you remember he was 8, playing baseball in the backyard? I remember, Emma's voice softened. You made him confess. He cried the whole way to her door. Kept saying he didn't mean to, it was an accident. I told him accidents still have consequences. We apologized together. Then I made him mow her lawn every week for the whole summer to pay for the glass. I rubbed my eyes. When we walked home that first day, I told him, "We face the consequences of our actions. That's what makes a man of character." I remember that too. He complained about it for weeks. But at the end of summer, Mrs. Patterson baked him cookies and told him he'd done a good job. He was so proud. What happened to that boy, Emma? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, Dad, but he's not that boy anymore. After we hung up, I sat there as the afternoon light slanted through the blinds and turned the kitchen golden. I thought about the other people Marcus had mentioned, the other elderly victims he'd represented over the years, the ones whose children had drained their accounts, forged their signatures, filed false guardianship petitions. How many of them had been too ashamed to press charges, too afraid of what people would say, of what it would do to the family, of losing the last connection to their child. How many had died alone, penniless, while their children lived in houses bought with stolen money? I thought about Margaret. 5 years ago, when the cancer had spread, and we both knew there was no stopping it, she'd made me promise to take care of the kids. "I make sure they're okay," she'd whispered in that hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and fear. "Make sure they grow up right." I'd kept that promise with Emma. She'd grown into a woman Margaret would have been proud of. Strong, compassionate, fiercely protective of the people she loved. But Michael, what would Margaret say if she could see him now? She would be heartbroken. She would cry. She would ask me the same question I'd been asking myself all day. Where did we go wrong? But then, I knew this as clearly as I knew my own name. She would dry her eyes, straighten her shoulders, and say, "Teach him a lesson, Robert. It's the last gift you can give him." Because Margaret had been soft in all the ways that mattered, but she'd been steel when it came to right and wrong. She'd been the one who'd marched 8-year-old Michael to Mrs. Patterson's door. She'd been the one who'd insisted he mow that lawn, even when he complained his hands hurt, even when the August sun beat down at 95 degrees. "He needs to learn," she'd said. Now, while the stakes are low, the stakes weren't low anymore. They were $500,000. They were my autonomy, my dignity, my ability to live independently in the years I had left. They were the difference between having control of my own life and becoming a name on a guardianship petition, a problem to be managed. And if I let this go, if I tore up this police report and called Marcus and said, "Never mind, I can't do it," what would I be teaching my son? That theft has no consequences if you steal from someone who loves you. That forgery is acceptable if the victim is old and soft-hearted. That you can threaten, manipulate, and betray your own father, and he'll forgive you anyway, because blood is thicker than felonies. I hadn't raised a thief, but if I didn't act now, that's exactly what my son would become. Not because I failed to teach him better, because I failed to hold him accountable when it mattered most. I picked up my pen one last time, signed my name at the bottom of page 3. Then I called Marcus. "It's Robert. File the charges. All of them." A long silence on the other end. When Marcus spoke, his voice was quiet, respectful. "Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "All right." I heard papers rustling. "I'll file first thing tomorrow morning. The DA will review, probably issue a warrant by end of day. Robert, prepare yourself. When he's arrested, he'll know you're the one who pressed charges. He'll call. His wife will call. They'll try to guilt you, threaten you, maybe even apologize. Do not talk to them without me present. Understood?" "Understood. You did the right thing." I looked at the signed report. "I hope so." "You did," Marcus said firmly. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." After I hung up, I sat at the table as the golden light faded to blue, then gray, then dark. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there holding the police report in both hands and let myself grieve for the man my son could have been, should have been, wasn't. The call came Wednesday morning while I was making breakfast. Emma's name flashed on the screen. "Dad," her voice was tight. "He just got arrested. At his office, in front of his coworkers. I set down my coffee mug. When, about an hour ago, two detectives walked into the building, read him his rights in the lobby. She's been blowing up my phone, calling everyone in the family. She's telling people you ruined them, that you're a monster, that this is all a horrible misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding. I know, Dad. A pause. Are you okay? I looked out the window at the parking lot below. I'm okay. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Just be ready. She was right. By noon, my phone had rung 8 times. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. My late wife's sister. An uncle from Margaret's side. All of them with the same question. How could you do this to your own son? Don't you believe in forgiveness? My Aunt Linda, Margaret's older sister, called around 2 in the afternoon. Her voice was sharp. Robert, please tell me you didn't actually press charges against Michael. He tried to steal $500,000 from me, Linda. He forged my signature. He's been planning this for months. It was a misunderstanding. It was forgery, fraud. The bank has security footage of him trying to cash the check. Yeah, but he's your son. Family forgives. You don't send your own child to prison over money. Something in my chest tightened. Family also doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't threaten each other. Family doesn't forge signatures while pretending to provide care. He was probably desperate. Then he's been taking $800 a month in rent from me for 2 years while I slept in his basement. He found out about my patent royalties 8 months ago and didn't tell me. He brought a fake doctor to evaluate me for incompetence. His wife threatened to have me declared incapacitated. This wasn't desperation, Linda. This was a plan. Silence. I'm sorry, I said more gently. I know this is hard, but you weren't there. I can't believe Michael would... Her voice wavered. He was such a sweet boy. I know. I remember that boy too. I closed my eyes. I don't know where he went. Marcus called an hour later. Your son was arraigned this morning. The DA charged him with 3 counts forgery conspiracy to commit fraud and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. His lawyer requested bail. The judge denied it. Denied. Multiple attempts over weeks show a pattern. Combined with the amount involved, the judge ruled he's a flight risk. He'll stay in county jail until trial. I sat down heavily. How long? Trial's set for 6 weeks from now. The DA moves fast on elder exploitation cases. What about his wife? She's making calls, trying to raise bail money from relatives, friends, anyone who'll listen. Emma told me she tried calling her too. Emma won't give her anything. I know. Marcus paused. Robert, you need to prepare yourself. Your daughter-in-law is mounting a campaign. Calls social media posts family pressure. She's painting you as vindictive, cruel. It's going to be loud and ugly. Let her talk. The evidence speaks for itself. Good man. 3 days later, I received a letter. The envelope had the return address of the county detention center. My son's handwriting. The same slanted script he'd used on birthday cards and apparently forged checks. I almost didn't open it, but I did. Dad, please. I'm begging you. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do it. She pushed me into it. She kept saying we needed to secure our future, that you wouldn't live forever, that this was our chance. I should have said no. I should have stopped her. I didn't. I was weak. But Dad, I'm your son. You raised me. You know me. This isn't who I am. Please don't let them send me to prison. Please drop the charges. I'll pay you back. I'll do anything. Just please give me another chance. I love you, Michael. I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully, put it back in the envelope, and set it in a drawer. I didn't respond. The next 6 weeks passed in a blur. Marcus and I met weekly, reviewing evidence, building the timeline. The fake doctor consultation. The power of attorney ambush recorded on the hidden camera. The bank records showing the blocked wire transfer and the forged check. The security footage from the check cashing store. Everything documented, time-stamped, clear. His lawyer will try to paint you as vindictive, Marcus said during one session. They'll emphasize the family relationship, the lack of actual financial loss since the bank stopped the transactions. They'll argue for leniency, and we'll argue for accountability. Exactly. We focus on facts, the planning, the multiple attempts, the coercion. He tapped the photo of the conservatorship documents. This wasn't a mistake. This was calculated. On the Friday before trial, Marcus called me in for one final prep session. When I arrived, his expression was different. Grim, but with an edge of satisfaction. "We ran a full background check on your daughter-in-law," he said. "Standard procedure for fraud cases, and..." He slid a file across the desk. "She has a prior conviction. 10 years ago, different state, different name. Fraud charges. She ran a similar scheme on her first husband's elderly parents. Convinced them to sign over, power of attorney, drained their accounts, disappeared, before charges were filed. They tracked her down. She pleaded out, served 18 months. I stared at the documents. Police reports, court filings, a mugshot of a woman 10 years younger but unmistakably her. Your son married a professional con artist," Marcus said quietly, "and he either didn't know or didn't care." I thought about the past 2 years, the basement, the coffee, the escalating control, the fake doctor, the forged checks. "Just make sure his lawyer knows," I said. "Make sure my son sees this file. Let him understand exactly who he married, who planned all of this." Marcus nodded. "It'll be in discovery. He'll see it before trial." "Good." I stood to leave, then stopped. "Marcus, when this is over, do you think he'll understand?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I don't know, Robert. Some people wake up. Some don't." He met my eyes. "But at least you'll have given him the chance." I nodded and walked out into the cool November afternoon, 2 days away from watching my son stand trial. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined. Plain rectangular room, fluorescent lights, beige walls, wooden benches like church pews. My son sat at the defense table in a dark suit I didn't recognize. His hair was shorter, shoulders hunched forward, hands folded. I walked down the center aisle, Marcus beside me, Emma and Tom behind. My son turned slightly. Our eyes met for the first time in 6 weeks. He looked away. The prosecution attorney laid out the case in clean, methodical language. A pattern of escalating criminal behavior targeting a vulnerable elderly man. Forgery, fraud, exploitation. Susan Mitchell took the stand first. She identified the forged check, explained the fraud detection protocols, described the security footage. Then the prosecutor played the video. There he was, standing at a check cashing counter in Decatur, sliding the check across. The timestamp Saturday, 2:47 p.m. The amount $500,000. Someone in the gallery inhaled sharply. Then it was my turn. I walked to the witness stand, placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Marcus asked the questions we'd rehearsed. The timeline. Margaret's death 5 years ago. Moving into my son's basement. Paying $800 monthly rent. Being treated like hired help. The patent. The licensing deal. Easter Sunday. Sarah Williams mentioning my water filtration work. My son's face going pale. The 8-month secret. "Why didn't you tell your family about the money earlier?" Marcus asked. I looked at the jury. I wanted to see if they loved me or just loved my money. I got my answer. Marcus played the hidden camera footage. My daughter-in-law's voice describing how accidents happen to elderly people on stairs. The blocked door. Guardianship threats. My son standing silent, complicit. The defense attorney cross-examined me. Younger than expected, mid-30s, expensive suit, aggressive confidence. Mr. Morrison, didn't you deliberately hide your wealth from your family? See, I lived modestly because I've always lived modestly. I didn't hide anything. I simply didn't announce it. There's a difference between privacy and deception. You could have helped your son financially if he'd asked. He never asked for help. He didn't ask. He tried to take by force. He forged my signature. He attempted to steal $500,000. That's not asking. That's theft. The attorney tried more angles. Wasn't I bitter, vindictive, punishing my son? But Marcus objected to most, and the judge sustained. Then the prosecution presented the evidence I'd been waiting for. Your Honor, we'd like to enter the criminal history of Vanessa Morrison, co-conspirator in this case. The objection, irrelevant and prejudicial. Overruled. It speaks to motive and pattern. I'll allow it. Copies went to the jury, the judge, the defense table. I watched my son's face as he read. Confusion, shock, betrayal. Ms. Vanessa Morrison was convicted 10 years ago in Florida for fraud targeting elderly victims, the prosecutor said. She befriended an elderly couple, obtained power of attorney through coercion, drained their retirement accounts over 6 months. She served 18 months. The pattern is identical to the scheme attempted against Mr. Morrison. My son turned, staring at his wife in the gallery. She looked straight ahead, expressionless. He hadn't known. During recess, my son broke away from his attorney in the hallway, crossed toward me. His voice cracked. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about her past. She never told me. His lawyer grabbed his arm. Michael, stop. Don't say anything. I didn't know she'd done this before. He pulled free. I thought it was just about our future. I didn't know she was... Mr. Morrison, not another word. His attorney stepped between us. Not without me present. My son stared at me over his lawyer's shoulder. I said nothing. Marcus guided me back toward the courtroom. Day 2. My son took the stand. Under oath, he told the truth. He'd found the licensing letter 8 months ago. Saw the numbers. $2.5 million upfront, $800,000 annually. And told only his wife. She was excited. She said, "Your dad is rich and living like a poor man in your basement. He needs to pay his fair share." The pressure started small, managing finances, then escalated. Fake doctor, power of attorney advisors, finally forgery. I practiced your signature for weeks. She said it would be easy. You'd never notice. By the time you figured it out, the money would be in our account and you'd just let it go. Because you loved me. His voice broke. I never asked you for help, Dad. I never said I needed anything. I just took. I tried to steal from you. He wiped his eyes. I'm so sorry. The defense offered character witnesses. Good neighbor, reliable co-worker, terrible mistake under a manipulative spouse's influence. Marcus called me for victim impact statement. I kept it brief. I raised my son to be honest, to work hard, to treat people with respect. Holding him accountable isn't cruelty. It's still my job as his father. Even now, the jury deliberated 3 hours. Guilty, both counts. Forgery. Conspiracy to commit fraud. The judge sentenced him to 5 years suspended. No jail time if he complied with probation. 5 years probation. $50,000 restitution and fines. Mandatory therapy. Financial crimes education program. Vanessa Morrison was charged separately, denied bail due to prior conviction. Trial set for 3 months later. Outside the courthouse. November air was cold and sharp. Emma held my arm as we walked toward the parking lot. Dad! I stopped. Turned. My son stood 10 feet away, his lawyer beside him, but silent. He looked smaller, younger. The way he'd looked at 16 when the world felt too big. "I know I don't deserve it," he said, "but can we talk just us, without the lawyers?" I looked at Marcus. He gave the smallest nod. "Not today," I said. "But maybe, someday." My son nodded, swallowed hard. "Okay, thank you." I turned and walked toward the car, Emma beside me, and left my son standing in the cold. 3 months had passed since the trial. We sat across from each other in a coffee shop on the east side of town, neutral territory halfway between my apartment and the small rental he'd moved into after posting bail. The place smelled like roasted beans and cinnamon morning light streaming through tall windows. Both of us held our cups, but neither drank. We were nervous. I could see it in the way his fingers traced the rim of his mug, the way my own hand kept adjusting the sleeve around mine. This was the first real conversation we'd had since Easter. He spoke first. "I'm divorcing her." His voice was quiet, steady. "I should have done it a long time ago. Maybe before I even married her." I nodded slowly, said nothing, waited. "I've been in therapy, twice a week since the sentencing." He looked down at his coffee. "My therapist is helping me understand why I was so easy to manipulate. Why I let her convince me to do something I knew was wrong. And what have you learned?" He took a breath. "That I've spent most of my life looking for validation from outside myself. I wanted to be seen as successful, as impressive, as someone who had it all figured out." He paused. She saw that. She knew exactly how to use it. She'd tell me I was too soft, that I needed to be tougher, that successful men take what's theirs. And I wanted her approval so badly that I let her reshape who I was. "You're 35 years old," I said quietly. "You weren't a child." "I know." He met my eyes. "I'm not blaming her for my choices. I made them. I signed the checks. I practiced your signature. I stood there while she threatened you and said nothing." His voice cracked slightly. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, Dad. I know that." I set my coffee down. "You're right, you don't." He flinched but held my gaze. But I'm not doing this for you," I continued. "I'm doing it because I don't want to die bitter. I don't want to spend whatever years I have left carrying around anger like a stone in my chest. So I'm here. But that doesn't mean everything is forgiven. It means I'm willing to see if you can become someone worth forgiving." He nodded, swallowing hard. "That's fair." A pause. Then softer. "Would Mom have forgiven me?" The question hit harder than I'd expected. I thought about Margaret. Her laugh, her stubbornness, the way she'd never let the kids get away with half-truths or excuses. "I don't know," I said honestly. "She would have been heartbroken, absolutely devastated, but she wouldn't have wanted you to just feel guilty. She would have wanted you to become better, to actually change, not just say you're sorry." "I'm trying." His voice was thick. "I really am." We talked for a while about small things. Memories from when he was young. The model rockets in the garage. The summer he'd mowed Mrs. Patterson's lawn. The time he'd gotten his first A in chemistry, and Margaret had baked a cake to celebrate. At some point his eyes filled with tears. Real ones, not the performative kind I'd seen in his jail letter. He wiped them quickly, embarrassed. "I miss her," he whispered. "I miss Mom. And I miss who I used to be. Before I became this." "Then find your way back," I said. "Not to who you were. You can't go backward. But to who you should have become." He nodded, wiping his face with a napkin. I leaned forward slightly. "I'm willing to talk like this. Occasionally. But we can't rebuild everything overnight. You understand that, right? You have to earn trust back. One conversation at a time. One choice at a time." "I understand." He took a shaky breath. "I'm working on it. Therapy is helping. I found a job. Nothing fancy, just an entry-level position at a tech startup. Pays less than half what I used to make. But it's honest work, and I'm learning to live simply. No pretending. No trying to impress anyone. Good. Silence settled between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Just careful. Then he asked almost shyly, "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Are you happy with your new life?" I considered the question. Thought about my small apartment with the kitchen window that got morning sun. The neighbor down the hall who liked to talk about baseball. The part-time consulting work I'd picked up. Just enough to stay busy, not so much that I felt obligated. Emma's kids running through my living room on Saturday afternoons. The quiet evenings with a book, and no one demanding rent or criticizing my coffee choices. "Yes," I said. "I have good neighbors. I'm doing some consulting work helping a few small companies with water treatment systems. I visit Emma's kids twice a week. I go to the farmer's market on Sundays." I paused. I feel free. For the first time in years, I feel like my life belongs to me. His face did something complicated. Relief and sadness tangled together. "I'm glad, Dad. You deserve that." He looked down at his hands. "I'm sorry I took so much of it away from you." "You did, but I took it back." Another silence. Then hesitantly, "Can I call you sometimes just to talk? Nothing heavy, just to check in." I looked at him across the table, at the man wearing my son's face, the boy I'd raised who'd broken model rockets and cried over broken hearts, the man who'd stood silent while his wife threatened me, and the person sitting in front of me now raw and trying, who maybe, just maybe, could still become someone I'd be proud to know. "Yes," I said. "You can call." His shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you. But if you miss a therapy session," I added, "or if I hear you're not keeping up with your probation requirements, we stop." "Understood. Understood." We finished our coffee. Talked a little more about nothing important. The weather, a movie he'd watched Emma's daughter starting kindergarten. Then we stood, paid separately, and walked to the parking lot together. At his car, he paused. "Same time next month?" I thought about it. 2 months. "Let's not rush this." He nodded. 2 months. I'll call before then, just to let you know I'm okay." "All right." He hesitated, then extended his hand. I shook it. Firm, brief, formal. Not a hug, not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was a start. Spring had come around again. Not Easter this time. Just an ordinary Saturday in late April when the air smells like fresh earth and possibility. I knelt in my small townhouse garden, pressing tomato seeds into dark soil while my granddaughter Sophie crouched beside me, her 7-year-old hands mimicking my movements with serious concentration. "Grandpa, how long until the tomatoes grow?" "Couple months, maybe longer." I handed her another seed. "Good things take time, sweetheart. You can't rush them." She nodded solemnly, as if I'd shared profound engineering wisdom instead of basic gardening advice. This was my life now. Part-time consulting for water treatment startups. Mentoring young engineers at the state university twice a week. Sunday dinners with Emma's family had become tradition. Her cooking, Tom's terrible jokes. The kids' endless energy filling my townhouse the way laughter used to fill the house Margaret and I had shared. There was someone else too. A widow I'd met through consulting last fall. Coffee a few times, dinner twice. Nothing serious, yet just gentle companionship. 2 people who'd both loved deeply and lost learning to be less alone. Emma emerged from the house carrying lunch. Tom followed with a blanket, and 5-year-old Jake ran ahead, nearly tripping over the garden hose. We spread the blanket and ate in warm sunlight. Sophie's school play, Jake's dinosaur obsession, Tom's treehouse plans. Simple, ordinary, perfect. Then the doorbell rang. Emma's eyes met mine. A question. "It's all right," I said. "I'm expecting him." My son stood on the porch, holding a potted basil plant, looking uncertain the way he always did now when he visited. He'd called yesterday, asked if he could stop by. Hi, Dad. He held out the plant. Thought you might want this for the garden. Nah, thanks. I took it, gestured toward the backyard. We're out back. The atmosphere was careful, polite. Emma greeted him with a nod but stayed close to her kids. Tom shook his hand. Sophie waved, cheerful and uncomplicated. My son looked better than 9 months ago. Healthier, steadier. He'd been promoted to project manager at the tech company. Honest work. Studio apartment across town, used car therapy still twice a week. The divorce finalized in December. We didn't talk much. He knelt beside me and I showed him how to space the seedlings. Sophie chattered about her reading level and her friend's pet rabbit, and he listened with genuine interest. After an hour, he stood, brushed dirt from his knees. I should go. Thanks for letting me visit. Drive safe. He hesitated at the gate. Same time next month. Sure. Something like relief crossed his face, and he left. Sophie tugged my sleeve. Grandpa, are you happy? I looked around. At my daughter. At Tom throwing a ball with Jake. At Sophie's dirt-smudged face and bright eyes. At the garden I'd planted in soil I owned in a house no one could take from me. Yes, sweetheart, I really am. That evening, after everyone had gone, I sat in my study. Margaret's photo rested on the desk. The two of us at Emma's graduation, younger and unaware of what was coming. Beside it, the leather journal she'd given me on our 30th anniversary. Tonight I wrote, Margaret, it's been a year since the trial. A year since I chose protecting myself over protecting our son from consequences. I've learned some things. Money doesn't change people. It reveals who they already are. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect and how you treat each other when no one's watching. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. You can forgive without forgetting. You can care without enabling. I thought about the patent money. Half had gone to engineering scholarships at the state university in Margaret's name. 5 students each year studying water resource management. The rest funded my retirement and education accounts for Sophie and Jake. My son was rebuilding his life slowly, but my peace no longer depended on his redemption. I'd found community. Retired engineers who met for coffee, Tuesdays volunteer work at the local makerspace, teaching kids, circuits at church where people asked how I was and actually listened. Next month, I'd fly to Denver for a conference where my water filtration patent would be featured. They'd asked me to speak about the work Margaret and I had started in our garage 30 years ago. I picked up my pen again. Margaret, I think you'd be proud. Not because of the money, not even because I stood up to our son, but because I finally learned to value myself, to know my worth beyond what I can give others. I miss you every day, but I'm okay now, more than okay. I'm free. I closed the journal and set it beside her photo. Through the window, the garden glowed in sunset light, tiny green shoots emerging from soil. Tomorrow I'd teach Sophie how to use a tape measure and level. She wanted to build a birdhouse. She was bright, curious, asked a million questions, reminding me why I'd fallen in love with engineering. The pure joy of figuring out how things work. That's what I was passing on now. Not money, not property, not some inheritance to be fought over. Knowledge, values, wisdom, the real legacy, the only one that lasts forever. I made tea and sat at the kitchen table looking out at the garden I'd planted in the house I'd chosen, living the life I'd reclaimed. And I was happy, truly, deeply, finally happy. Looking back at this family story, I've learned that silence can be as dangerous as the lies themselves. I stayed quiet too long. In that basement at that Easter table through 8 months of my son's secret. Don't be like me. Don't wait until someone forges your signature to realize your worth. This wasn't just a dad revenge story, though some saw it that way. It was about reclaiming dignity. People called it dad revenge, but revenge implies hatred. I didn't hate my son. I loved him enough to hold him accountable. The greatest lesson: boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges to healthier relationships. Money doesn't change people. It reveals who they've always been. Faith helped me through the darkest moments. I believe God doesn't waste pain. He uses it to teach us what we couldn't learn in comfort. Margaret used to say that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to let bitterness poison your future. If you're living your own family story, where love feels conditional, where you're invisible unless you're useful, speak up now. Document everything. Find your advocates. Don't let fear of conflict trap you in a basement, literal or metaphorical. This family story taught me that protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. This dad revenge wasn't about punishment. It was about protection. Mine and ultimately my son's chance to become better. If this story resonated, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Final note: this content contains dramatized storytelling elements for educational purposes. Some details are fictionalized, but the lessons and messages are entirely valuable. If this style doesn't suit you, that's okay. Please seek content more aligned with your needs.